In 2024, Sarasota was ranked the 5th best place to live in the US and number 4 in the best places to retire. Siesta Key was ranked the best beach in Florida, with Anna Maria Island coming in at a close second, while also being in the top 10 beaches in the entire world. Sarasota was also ranked number 1 for the best date night cities, with one of my favorite local clubs, the Gator Club, being ranked as the best bars in Sarasota. Longboat Key also made Forbes travel list of top 12 destinations for 2025. So it's really no surprise that we have exponential population growth here in Sarasota in the past 14 years. But the population is not the only thing changing around here. As a matter of fact, I'd go out on a limb to say that you might not even recognize the Sarasota, Florida of even 10 years ago. So in this video, I'm going to be diving into not only the good, but also the bad and the ugly of living here in Sarasota, Florida. From some of my favorite things to do here. Oh, and make sure to pay close attention because I've sprinkled in some of those true spots only locals would know about, to some of the growing pains that Sarasota residents experience. So without further ado, let's get right on into it. Sarasota's lifestyle is one of the best out of all of the Florida cities. Now, I may be a bit biased being born and raised here, but I feel like it's the Goldilocks. Let me tell you why. Sarasota has this slow-paced lifestyle and it attracts a crowd of people who want to live each day not by running around, but instead by sitting by the beach, sipping a daiquiri, or taking an afternoon stroll through downtown and by the bay. You see Tampa, Orlando, and Miami, they're hectic. They're busy, they're crowded, and that's great if that's what you're looking for every day. Me personally, I couldn't care less for that kind of lifestyle. I love that I can drive 2 hours and be in Orlando, ready to explore Disney and all of the Orlando theme parks. I also love that I can drive 45 minutes and be in the heart of downtown Tampa. And I definitely love that I can take a weekend trip over to Miami and Fort Lauderdale for a special getaway. But the best part of all of that is I get to return to a town that isn't going to greet me with gridlock traffic, packed sidewalks, and overbooked restaurants. Now, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that Sarasota is a ghost town. It's actually far from it. And because we are seeing so many people moving here, our events calendar gets pretty packed. And thanks to almost 255 days of sunshine a year, almost all of our events are outside and they keep rolling all year long. Now you would think, how can a town feel slow-paced yet have a ton of amenities and activities all year round? Well, Sarasota is set up in such a way that you can pick and choose the activity that's right for you and your family for the vibe for that day. For example, if you're looking to de-stress after a long day, head to Lido Key Beach, walk on the powdery white sand, and listen to those waves roll in. Did you know that living near the water, or even just spending time near it, is linked to reduced stress levels and mental well-being? Can you really put a price tag on that? Maybe you're in the mood for a more physically challenging activity. Well, Waterside Place has free yoga on the green every single Sunday, same time as the local farmers market. But make sure to wear a lot of sunscreen because it can get pretty brutal out there. Now, pickleball is another huge activity in Sarasota, and whether you want to play indoors at the new pickleball club in Lakewood Ranch or outdoor at any of the pickleball public courts around here, there's something for you around every single turn. Now, I'm sure some of you watching this are night owls, and although we don't have a Miami or Tampa level nightlife, I definitely find that there's plenty to do here. Live music is basically around every single corner on every single night of the week. It all just kind of depends on what you're into. Places like Stottlemyre's have live country music nightly. Madison's Bar and Grill downtown hosts a handful of different bands, typically covering the oldies. Well, I consider them the oldies. On the weekends, walk down Main Street and follow your ears. There's more bars and restaurants playing music than I could mention in a 25-minute video. Because there are so many options and so much variety, you don't see a ton of super crowded bars and restaurants like you would typically see in those bigger cities. There are about 4 main places Sarasota residents can depend on when it comes to fun and entertainment in Sarasota. Those areas are downtown Lakewood Ranch and Waterside, the UTC area, and the Keys like Siesta Key Village and St. Armand Circle. Each one of these areas is growing constantly and adding new things. The most notable is the Quay District downtown, which is a 14-acre waterfront district that includes a blend of luxury residences, upscale retail, boutique hotels, and plenty of outdoor entertainment space. This is definitely going to be a hotspot in the coming years, which I'm super excited to check out. But it's not the only place I'll be watching. Other proposed developments around Sarasota that I have my eyes on are the redevelopment of the Sarasota Square Mall. You see, when I was a kid, the Sarasota Square Mall was the place to be. It had the movie theater, the food court, and all the stores that you could ever want. But it slowly started to fade away. Stores left one by one, then the food court closed down, and now this 93-acre, 1 million square foot building sits completely empty, besides the Costco and JCPenney that are attached to it. A couple of months ago, there was an announcement that developers had won approval by Sarasota County to completely transform this old mall into a town center style mix, including retail, restaurants, offices, and apartments. Now, this development is happening in one of my favorite parts of town, and that is Palmer Ranch. To check out why I think Palmer Ranch is the best place to live in Sarasota, click this button right up here. Another area that's getting a big revival is the Siesta Drive Mall, now known as The Crossings. Benderson Development, who also is responsible for the creation of our University Town Center area, has taken on the job of reviving yet another shopping plaza, this time with plans on creating another mixed-use kind of lifestyle village, with commercial retail, restaurant spaces, and even potentially residential units. Now, this project is in the early stages and will most likely continue into 2023. Now, all of this is nice, but what I'm talking about next, this is the real stuff. The topics that will ultimately define whether or not Sarasota is the right place for you, or if you might be avoiding a big financial mistake. Let's start off with the biggest negatives and one that is always on everybody's mind: hurricanes. We get them, they suck. It is kind of one of those realities and costs of living in paradise. But there is a lot of common misconception when it comes to hurricanes, especially from people who really have little to no experience with them. Now, I've lived in Sarasota my whole entire life, and I've lived through extremely strong and notable hurricanes, including Irma in 2017, Ian in 2022, which was a high-end Category 4. Then I was in Hurricane Idalia in 23, a Category 3, and this past year I had 3 storms back to back to back. One direct hit from Milton, which was a strong Category 3 with sustained winds of 120 miles per hour. So yeah, I've got some experience when it comes to stuff like this. Now, each storm has its own story behind it, and I won't lie to you, I learned something with every single one of them. Here are some of the biggest things I've learned from living through every storm that's ever been here basically in the past 24 years. Number one, where you live will ultimately decide how much storm damage you will receive. The difference 2 to 3 miles can do is actually pretty incredible. The amount of damage I saw in the barrier islands in Sarasota directly after the storm versus just 1 to 2 miles inland was absolutely night and day. I mean, major flooding was the worst. Everybody wants to live near the water until storm surge happens. I live just east of I-75 in Sarasota, about 5 miles from the beach, and our home saw absolutely no damage at all from water or wind. But as I drove west towards the beach, you could see actually visually how much worse the damage got. So it's extremely important to find the right location to live in, especially if hurricane safety is of importance to you. And there are definitely areas of Sarasota that handle hurricanes way better than others. I mean, just watch this video right up here that I made about that exact topic. Now, number 2 is you always have time to prepare. These weather models are actually pretty amazing, and at this point, we can have a hurricane on our radar up to 2 weeks before it actually makes landfall. Number 3, although you may know a hurricane is coming, you never really know where it's going to go. Ian and Milton were both perfect examples of this. They were both supposed to hit Tampa, and both of them made a sharp right turn into Florida at the last minute. Number 4, you have to run from water and hide from wind. If you live in an evacuation zone and they're telling you to evacuate, do it. No questions asked. Now, if you don't live in an evacuation zone, make sure that you're prepared to at least live for about a week without power. That's typically the longest we will see power outages for, but hey, it's better to be safe than sorry. Now, I used to have this fear as a kid of the roof completely flying off of our house during a storm, but I've now come to realize how uncommon that really is here. Florida home builders understand that hurricanes are kind of that inevitable part of life down here, so building codes have adapted to that. Even after a direct impact from a storm, I didn't see any roofs peeled off any houses. Heck, all the mobile home parks I went through after the storms hit still had their roofs intact. But if your roof is older, you might be susceptible to shingles flying off, which can lead to water intrusion. Now, when you see those clips of horrible damage, it's almost always one of the barrier islands or neighborhoods sitting right on the water or canal. When you see those out of context clips where it's someone telling you on TV to write your name on your arm so that your body can be identified after a storm.
Write your name on your arm so we can identify you. We're all talking the same way. Get out of these areas because we can replace your home. We can't replace your life.
It's because people are being told to evacuate and they just refuse to follow instructions and are forced to live with those consequences. In my experience, there should be no loss of life from any hurricane in Florida specifically. Thanks to hurricanes, though, we have seen insurance increases. Again, every case is different. I know people in condos where after the collapse of the building in Miami, their insurance nearly doubled. But I also have clients whose insurance had only really rose a couple $100s and then subsequently decreased again after more insurance companies come back to Florida. It's a weird thing. What I can say for certain is that insurance companies are looking at a few things. Like I said, they want to see how close to the water you are. Not only the Gulf, but a canal, a river, or lower lying areas can all be susceptible to flooding, and that's what really is the costliest thing during these storms. So they're looking at the property's location, but they also want to know the age of the home, what the codes were at that time. Was it built to the 2002 hurricane codes? They also want to know the age of the roof. They want to know if the roof has hurricane straps. Are there impact windows? Does the home come with hurricane shutters? If not, really those are the 4 big things that insurance agents are looking at. Now, the one thing that I do that has added great peace of mind for us during hurricane season is to landscape with smaller trees and plants. I don't have any big massive oak trees anywhere near my house. The largest thing we have are some medium-sized palm trees, and because of that, we don't have any large branches snapping off or breaking through our roof, or even worse, having a whole tree fall coming straight through our ceiling. Another topic that isn't going to make the Sarasota highlight reel is the traffic. Transportation in general leaves a lot to be desired in Sarasota. We are still very much a car-dependent city, so if you're somebody coming from an area like New York where you can do everything in your daily life without a car, Sarasota is just not like that at all. Not to mention our public transportation is also kind of poor. Now, I will say if you're a biker, skater, or runner, you'll love the Legacy Trail here in Sarasota. It's a 13-mile and growing long trail that stretches all the way from Venice, all the way down to North Sarasota, and even into downtown. There have been lots of big updates with the trail, including our most recent ones with pedestrian overpasses. This way, cars and pedestrians never have to interact with each other, which really helps with traffic, but more importantly, it will keep pedestrians off the road and safe when crossing the streets. Now, another thing that you need to consider is the weather here in Florida. I know you've heard it all before, but it really does get pretty nasty outside in the summer months. So my best recommendation is to take some time off and come and visit for at least a week during the summer. But don't just go to the beach where you can enjoy a nice sea breeze. Walk around the neighborhood that you're staying in. Explore different areas and really get a feel for the heat and humidity, because believe it or not, there's plenty of people who have up and sold their homes after being here for only a year because the heat was just too much for them to handle. Now, it's not all bad because of course, we have plenty of ways to cool down, from the amazing beaches around here, the community and private pools, and lots of indoor attractions as well. So it's not all bad. Now, those are important considerations, but most people are willing to accept the fact that there are hurricanes and summer heat. Now, but what you might not be able to accept is what it could cost you to live here, and that's what I'm talking about next. For starters, the median family home price in Sarasota County is right around $505,000. Thankfully, that number has been steadily dropping, but we also have a really active $1 million plus price range, which has contributed kind of to our inflated median average numbers. There are a ton of budget-friendly neighborhoods in areas like east of I-75 or in areas like Northport and Parrish, where you get a little bit more house for your money, although you might be sacrificing some of those amenities that come with living in or near an established town. Housing prices in Sarasota can even be broken down further. I mean, I most often break Sarasota into 8 different categories, each really with its own distinct lifestyle and pros and cons. Now, if you're interested in seeing how Sarasota's pricing is broken down from neighborhood to neighborhood, check out my free Sarasota price breakdown guide. I'll make sure to drop it in the link in the description below. Now, if you're at that stage of your life right now where you're trying to figure out what areas of Sarasota are right for you, or if Sarasota is even right for you, I highly suggest watching this video right here, or better yet, just reach out to me. I'd love to be your real estate resource of choice here in Sarasota, helping you kind of navigate Sarasota. I'll put my information right here on the screen. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.